Within the next 10 years, you can say the world is going to change quite dramatically. We're seeing different examples of that here and now. I mean, just a couple of days ago, you have an entire country, Portugal, was out of power. You have the building of AI robots. You have different companies that are building private AIs that are turning their backs on human beings. I just saw a video the other day of two Chinese developers building a robot. The robot was attached to some sort of mechanism, and if it had not been attached, the robot somehow started activating itself and attacking the actual creators. And once again, I saw this on videos. It seemed like a movie. It didn't even seem real. The world is changing. There's no question about it. I want to go ahead and take a whiteboard video to kind of talk about ideally the next few moves. I see in the near future rather, there's going to be more of a divide between pretty much everybody. And what's really going to happen is you're going to have most people who are extremely poor. I mean, there's not even going to be a medium ground. And when I say that, a lot of people are thinking of the lives that they currently have, maybe the house that they live in, the rent that they pay now. But all of that is mostly predicted on, the past infrastructure that's been built. Whether you live with somebody, you own your own house, all of that is because of the past. In the future, it's going to be harder than ever to purchase a house or even pay for your rent. Jobs, the ability to go out and get a job is going to decrease quite dramatically. And that's here within now, the next 5-10 years, the landscape, this is what I predict, is going to be quite dramatically different. Jobs are going to go down, lack of opportunity, the cost to even do things for the poor person is going to increase. But for the rich, everything will be easy. They're the ones who are going to have access to the tools that can do things with just a snap of a finger. Imagine if you had to, build something or do something. Well, if you're rich, you could just have a robot do it, or hire other robots or hire a developer to create a robot that would do it. These infrastructures are going to exist here in the future. But if you're poor, you can't afford the robot. You can't hire people. You're essentially screwed in all directions. And I could only see this division getting greater and greater and greater and greater. If you look at a country like Turkey, for example, inflation can be as high as 60% in a single year. If you can just imagine that, if people don't have jobs, inflation is high, the value of things are going up while you're not making any money. And so your net worth is going down effectively on a daily basis. It's going to make it almost impossible to get out of your financial situation. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. It could very well in the future be like a Mad Max situation. I mean, total chaos will emerge. When people go hungry, they can't pay their bills, they don't know what to do. Like I said, people will result to total chaos and violence. And it's going to be amongst the groups. There will be clear segregation between the rich and the poor. Poor people won't be able to even access the environments of the rich, the neighborhoods, the places to live, the equipment, the stores. The future is not based on segregation of race or identity. It's going to be on class for sure. And and the reason why I say that is because if you think about it already, there is this internal dialogue between the elites of the world who despise poor people. They look at them like they're, I guess you could say, insects walking the earth, just taking and not providing or doing anything. And the poor have the same view of the rich, that they are abusive, that they're heartless, that there's no, I guess you could say, humane kind of force within them, almost like drones, if you will. And both kind of groups hate each other in a way. But you have a small percentage of people who might be somewhere in the middle who want to get out of this community and make it to the rich, not necessarily to be an elite or not necessarily to be a divisive person, but to be somebody who lives a life of comfort, financial freedom. It's very safe to say that what we picture as financial freedom now is definitely not what it's going to be like in the future. And especially, the sheer size, the sheer numbers that you need to make to achieve financial freedom today won't be the same number that you can expect 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and so on and so forth. Who really knows how chaotic the future will be? But what it is clear is that a chaotic future is coming. And so the best thing you can do is you can prepare now to be able to figure out how to decrease the amount of pain you're going to receive in the future. Because on some sort of level, everyone is going to have pain, just at what threshold, let's say, or at what level. So how can you kind of prioritize the way that you generate income today to have a better future? Well, this is just my prediction, my ideologies. And so it all starts off with a base foundation. And I think of this as like a pyramid, really almost like an inverted pyramid, if you will. Okay? And the foundation starts off with your skill, right? And what's happening today in today's world is people's skills are rapidly developing. You look at things like AI, image generation, you look at all kinds of different blogging, video editing. I mean, you could just name all kinds of skills. Today, people are more educated than they ever were. Not necessarily from a, book and pen type standpoint from, the academic fields, but much, much more educated from a lifestyle perspective. The average 14-year-old in 1990 didn't pontificate about psychology, deep thoughts, but you can ask any kind of 14-year-old on the streets today about certain, internal thoughts and internal, I guess you could say language, how they feel, all kinds of stuff, and they can write essays on this kind of thing. There is development within the generations, but at current time, it seems as though your skills are going to be the foundation of what you're capable of doing. I always talk about, adding more tools to your tool belt. If you want to make a lot of money or even just have a chance for financial peace and financial freedom in the future, it's safe to say that you're going to need to develop a lot of skills. These are going to be the first things that's going to lay your foundation. Let's kind of give a few examples of what these skills may potentially be. Let's just say understanding how to use ChatGPT. That might potentially be a skill, right? That is access to a astronomically powerful tool, ChatGPT, learning how to communicate with it, learning how to get the outputs that you want with it, things like that. Let's use another skill, image generation. Image generation is a skill, right? I put like a little IG here for image generation. What's another skill? Learning how social media algorithms work. So I'll just write ALGO, algorithms. Learning when to make a post or when to tag or when to title or what to title or tag rather. Certain kind of skills like that can really make a difference for you as an individual. There's all kinds of different skills from physical to mental to psychological and dare I even say emotional, right? All these things are skills that you can build to make you have a stronger foundation. The stronger the foundation, the easier it is going to reach effectively the top of the pyramid. Like I said, this pyramid is somewhat inverted, but you can kind of see where we're heading. After you develop a certain degree of skills, what's next? It's time to put those skills into practice. And one of the things that I like to do is I like to show the world that I'm truly a practitioner. When I talk about a business or a concept on YouTube, most likely I'm building it alongside the videos that I'm talking about, assuming that I have some sort of level of experience on it. So, for example, when I was doing Redbubble videos every single day, I was announcing to the world, hey, I'm posting 60 designs a day every single day, and every single new month I would create a new store around Redbubble. If you guys remember that was, for the OG people who are watching these videos today, they know what I'm talking about. These are putting the skills into practice, doing the things that essentially allow you to eventually profit off of the skills. And this is the next kind of thing. Your profits are not going to be nearly as much as your practitioner, right? Or is essentially how much work you're doing. At least for most people, we're looking at over 90% of the people who are going to essentially do more work than they do gain profit, and that's perfectly fine. It's just part of the game. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. There was a man that I heard him say this quote, I can't remember exactly who it was, but he said most people are going to have to overwork and get underpaid until the point that they could potentially underwork and then get overpaid. So, that's just the reality of things. After you then profit, there's a very small percentage of people that actually tend to reach the lower levels, but ideally, next you would invest. And I'll just write INV here, invest, and then after investment, you can kind of reach financial freedom, if you will. Now, in today's world, like I said, it's getting harder and harder. Not because of just competition, although competition is a huge aspect, but also because the gap, the ability, the chance is narrowing. The opportunities are closing in on people. So where can we go from this? What kind of businesses, what kind of things could we start that might have a future? Well, I kind of talked about this. It's important, in my opinion, to have diversity in your approach. From print on demand to stock photography to any kind of other hustle out there. Don't be afraid to try it, but don't also be afraid to commit time to it. Time is one of these valuable kind of assets in the equation that really can alter your success at a very high level. I find that one of the things that make me most successful with Adobe Stock is just simply how much time I was in the game, as far as, using AI and the accumulation of larger and larger and larger portfolio sizes. Another thing that you really want to pay attention to, other than diversifying your income, is have a profession. And when I say a profession, I don't mean a day job that you go to, although that could potentially be it. But you need to have one main task or one main income source that you're really, really focusing on a daily basis. But this is going to be the conversation where you start to think about what boat you're in. If you're in a sinking ship, it doesn't matter how hard you work. It doesn't matter how, hard you push. If the ship is sinking, you're going to die along with it. I mean, that's just a pure fact. There are certain things that are currently dying today for certain industries, certain niches. I won't go over what those things are, but they do exist. I'll give you a quick example. Just one example. Like I said, I'm not going to list things off. There was somebody in one of my recent videos who was talking about how he worked as a graphic designer for over 20 years. And he was doing graphic design work. He did freelance work. He worked for a company. But in the last 3 years, he was laid off of his job. His company didn't need him anymore, the company that he worked for. And he continued doing freelancing. But after about 6 to 8 months of freelancing, he just simply couldn't keep up with his bills, the demands of things, and he had to stop freelancing altogether and get a regular job at Costco, Costco warehouse. So my point here is that things are changing. You could have a skill that is just not simply as worth it anymore. Like I said, the opportunities are becoming more and more narrow. So you're going to have a profession, but ideally, you don't want to be on a sinking ship. In the case of graphic design, and nobody really could have predicted this, to be 100% honest with you, but in the case of graphic design, that's a perfect example of a sinking ship. You can put somebody in a chair, teach them all the basics to graphic design within a period of 30 days, and they can have almost just as much capability as someone else with the power of AI who's been in the game for 30 years. Almost, and the reason why I say that is because AI is such a powerful tool. All you have to do is teach somebody the tricks of the trade and they can go far. So picking a profession where your ship is essentially not sinking. Now, this kind of begs the question, where am I personally going to go on with things? So you guys know I have built a large number of websites and I sold them. But really, essentially, what I was really doing when I was building websites is I was effectively building brands. Okay, so I'm going to write a big BRANDS here for brands. This is exactly what you have to do. You're going to have to build a brand. I talked about this a few videos ago, but years ago when the internet was relatively new and time passed by, e-commerce, or the concept of commerce in general, started to have presence, started to live on the internet. But there was very little amount of commerce going on because people simply didn't trust the internet. It was kind of like a thing where it's like, really? You're going to put your credit card in the internet? I wouldn't. That's risky. There were conversations around buying things on the internet as being a risk. And so the only way you can get past that objection that customers have is by building a brand. That's all you could do. So when I built my e-commerce business, I was on the tail end of that risky kind of concept. I remember there were customers at the time kind of worried. They wanted to buy the product, but they were simply worried that they wouldn't buy anything. They thought it was that they wouldn't receive anything. That they thought it was a scam. They would put money into something and then kind of worried that they would never receive anything, right? This was a very real worry that many people had as the internet was emerging. Time kind of passed by, and e-commerce became something that's kind of second nature. And people started buying and buying and buying online, and there developed more confidence in the internet, let's just say, of commerce, e-commerce, right? And then what happened is it became so democratized, the ability to create businesses online and things like that, to the point where you have to now then create a brand to be able to stand out. So there was only a short period of time, a gap in the middle, if you will, where you didn't really have to build a brand to make money. The tail end, which is where we are at now, you do kind of have to build a brand, like I said, to stand out. The beginning, you had to build a brand for the sake of building trust, because building a brand is truly building an identity that people can trust, know, like, and trust over time. But in the middle, there wasn't really a need for it. And so I've kind of come to this space now where there's so much competition, there's so much noise, there's so much, I guess you can say, opportunity for people that has, rightfully so, been used up, that in order for you to stand out today, you're going to have to create a brand. Now let's think about how brands are being built today, and this is something that I'm going to be adding more content to here in these videos today, or on this channel, both in the members area and here. If you have been watching my ebook playlist, you know what I'm talking about. You're going to need a website. There's no question about this. Websites allow you to transact with customers. Websites can serve as a hub for your viewers and customers to come to your, essentially, place of information, whether it be buying a product, reading a blog, watching content. A website is an asset that you have ownership over. That is one component to a brand. In today's world, I recommend now there to be also a video component. So specifically video social media, whether it be TikTok, whether it be Facebook, whether it be Twitter. And believe it or not, Twitter, also known as X, phenomenal for this. Also, YouTube. YouTube has been always phenomenal for this. But you need to have some sort of video to be able to build a brand. And it doesn't matter if you're going to build a brand just like Robert Greene, where you write books, or you're going to build a brand like a singer or an artist, or maybe you're going to have a faceless brand. You're kind of anonymous. You're in the shadows building products and selling them. No matter what, you still have to build a brand. The beautiful thing about brands is that there's no rule book to a brand necessarily. It just echoes on creativity. That's kind of the veil that it sits on, is however creative you can be, people will accept it, like it, and trust it based on the content that you create. Now, content sits in the middle of your website and the videos that you create. And by the way, the reason why I really harp on video content is because there's no denying that video content is one of the most valuable, at this point, pieces of content in time that can not only gain attention for you, but also help you depict your message out there quite clearly. So in between websites and videos, your content is going to make the difference. And what I mean by the content, it is the language, the niches that you are essentially harping on, the content that you're creating for people, your ideologies, the products that you put out, whether it's entertainment, inspirational, emotional, educational, it doesn't really matter. You can put any TIONAL at the end of it. It doesn't make a difference, but it's going to impact people. And that's really the most important thing. So, for example, if you are an expert in woodworking. Great. That's something that you can create a brand around. If you're an expert in becoming a parent, a single parent, and teaching your kids, how to be good people of society, it could be your brand, believe it or not. If you're a chef, you can be a brand, you can build a brand around that. It doesn't matter what it is. The whole point is that, we are all human beings. There's 8+ billion people on this planet. There's more than enough demand in all niches. I was just looking at a video the other day on how to hack a 3D printer, how to customize one, how to, do certain things to it. Yes, it's a small niche, but it's still a niche, right? And this is the whole point, is brands fit in what we call niches. And niches are nothing more than what we can call topics of conversation. So if you're watching my videos, get prepared for my future videos to teach very aspects and components of building a brand. I like to personally start off at building ebooks. Ebooks for sale are great ways to contribute to your brand. Not only are you offering people information, education through essentially a written word, PDF book or text file book or whatever it is, but more importantly, they're buying into your message. You're providing a product. It creates passive income. It just all kinds of benefits. So this is, I guess you can say, the introduction video to this continuation on building a brand. If you go to my channel, and we could do this together here, I'll go to, let me look it up here. Let's go to YouTube, and let's look up my channel here. Just bear with me, guys. Let me put my mic to the side here. Let's go here. Let's type in autopilot passive income. Spelled that wrong, but you get the point. Let's go over to the videos. And if you check here in my videos section, you will see playlists. I will leave this playlist in the link in the description, but I'm going to consistently add to it. It's going to teach you not only how to create an ebook, list it on your website, but sell it, how to create the website, how to create a landing page, how to do all that. We only talked about really the beginning side of things, and there's so much more to talk about, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or it says it right here, 8 videos. 8 videos we only have, and there's so much more to talk about. But if you want to build a brand, I'm going to create more videos around this for this channel, because what is our channel called? Autopilot Passive Income. We don't just talk about stock photography. We don't just talk about print on demand, but we talk about passive income. And I think there's nothing more that is more necessary for each and every single person listening to build a brand, truly something that they could stand behind, something that can allow them to not only create their products, sell them. If you agree with my message, leave it in the comments down below. If you're ready, if you're excited and you want to see more content on this, let other people know, inspire them as well. And I'm going to create more and more videos on this. But creating a brand, you could sell any kind of products you want, from ebooks to courses to physical products to consulting. I mean, newsletters, you name it. But it's something that will hopefully stand true with time, even with the existence of AI, hoping that AI won't decimate each and every brand out there in the world, which is less likely. AI is definitely going to decimate jobs, occupations, professions, but brands, it's much, much less likely for that to happen. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm saying it's much less likely, especially in the near future. And this is the absolute probably last time, this is the last saloon, if you will, for people to stand on. After this, guys, it's almost going to become impossible for you to make any kind of money online. I'm just going to keep it real. The chances of opportunity are less. I am not saying that there are going to be no opportunities in the future. There are, but the number of opportunities are going to be slimmer. As time goes on and technology improves, yes, there has been creations of new jobs, new professions, new occupations, but it's getting to the point where the kind of technology that is truly replacing us in a period of time is going to close down those number of opportunities at such a dramatic level. And you don't want to be the type of person that sits there and waits for this to happen. Because if you sit there and wait, you're going to it's really going to be rough for you. I mean, I'm just going to keep it real. It's going to be very, very rough. This is going to be something that you should thank God that you have the opportunity and the awareness to handle right now. And you need to start building your own website. You need to have your own assets. You need to sell your own assets. You need to learn how to develop a blog. You need to learn how to develop a community around your products. And I'm going to be teaching you guys that. All right. So thank you guys for watching. I'm going to create more videos on that, but hopefully you guys enjoy and hopefully you guys are ready to get started. I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching. Peace out. Bye.